As Wang Lin slaughtered the 8th-tier fierce beasts and repelled the 3 sect cultivators of the 6th tier, he became revered among the disciples of the Guiyuan sect, almost like an ancestor, commanding deep respect. Lu Yunsong's face turned grim at this moment. He stared at Wang Lin but found himself stuck, unsure whether to advance or retreat. Under the calm gaze of the white-clad man before him, taking a step forward felt like the heavens were about to collapse, and stepping back felt as though his Tao was about to shatter. It was as though his path, in the eyes of this ordinary white-clad man, appeared no more than a child's play, utterly clear and insignificant. Sweat began to bead on Lu Yunsong's forehead. He had never encountered anyone with such profound Tao insights. Everything before him seemed illusionary, yet with the slightest thought from the man, it could become real in an instant. He felt as though the entire world could change at the whim of this man's Tao intent. He sits there, and he is Tao. A strange thought arose in Lu Yunsong's heart. At this moment, Liian May's voice sounded, gentle and melodious, carrying an elegant charm that calmed the mind. As Wang Lin's gaze shifted from Lu Yunsong to Liian May, Lu Yunsong exhaled in relief and took a few steps back, his expression darkening. Wang Lin calmly gazed at Liian May. Her cultivation was unfathomable. Though she had reigned in all her power, Wang Lin could still tell that this beautiful woman possessed the divine art of shattered nirvana. "Friend, who are you?" Wang Lin's gaze remained calm, but his mind was on high alert. A breeze blew, causing a few strands of Liian May's hair to flutter in front of her graceful face. She tucked them behind her ear and gazed at Wang Lin, speaking softly. "Skybreaker Sect, Liian May. Why has fellow Taoist come here?" Wang Lin's mind stirred, though his expression remained unchanged as he spoke slowly. Liian May smiled lightly, blinking her eyes. "I came here to ask Tao Brother 3 questions, to resolve my confusion." "Why should I resolve your confusion?" Wang Lin's voice was flat. Liian May's expression remained serene. After thinking for a moment, she said, "I can play a tune for Tao Brother on my flute." "No need." Wang Lin furrowed his brows and replied calmly, "I will resolve the matter with the Violet Tao sect for you," Liian May said with a gentle smile. "No need." Wang Lin responded flatly. Liian May's expression grew troubled. She looked at Wang Lin and said softly, "Tao Brother has misunderstood. I happened to meet Brother Lu on the road, and since I had nothing else to do, I came along with him. I never intended to duel with you. As for your matter with the Violet Tao sect, I will not interfere. I only wish to ask 3 questions to clear my long-standing doubts, nothing more." Liian May rarely explained herself in such detail, but she could tell that Wang Lin believed she and Lu Yunsong were traveling together, so she explained the situation. After a moment of silent scrutiny, Wang Lin furrowed his brow and said in a deep voice, "What kind of questions?" "Questions about the Tao." Liian May smiled. "1 question, 1 item." Wang Lin replied slowly. Lu Yunsong, hearing this, couldn't help but let out a bitter smile. When he had faced Liian May before, he hadn't thought to ask for an item. Instead, he had simply enjoyed listening to her flute, also hoping to form a closer bond with her. Liian May was momentarily taken aback, then nodded and smiled lightly. "If Tao Brother can resolve my doubts, of course, I will offer something in return." "Ask," Wang Lin said, looking down at the 8-tier pill in his hand, his tone calm. "Tao Brother, my first question, what is heaven?" Liian May's eyes showed expectation. The answer she had found most satisfying on her journey was Lu Yunsong's. Heaven was a cage. Now, she was eager to hear how this seemingly ordinary white-clad man would answer. Not only Liian May, but even Lu Yunsong's expression grew serious. He too wanted to know how someone with such formidable Tao insight would answer. Lu Yunsong had always believed his answer was perfect, which was why Liian May had asked him the second question first. Upon hearing Liian May's question, Wang Lin couldn't help but smile, looking at her without speaking. Seeing Wang Lin's smile, Liian May was puzzled but didn't press for an answer, patiently awaiting his response. Lu Yunsong furrowed his brow. He couldn't understand why this white-clad young man would smile upon hearing the question. To Lu Yunsong, that smile carried a hint of mockery. "Ask the second question." Wang Lin shook his head and spoke calmly. "You haven't answered. What is heaven?" Lu Yunsong looked at Wang Lin, his voice deep. "Oh, then what do you think heaven is?" Wang Lin glanced at Lu Yunsong, speaking indifferently. Heaven is a cage. The mouth of a well is heaven. The surface of water is heaven. Lu Yunsong's voice was steady, yet full of confidence. Liian May furrowed her brow, deep in thought as she listened. She couldn't see through Wang Lin, and after hearing Lu Yunsong's answer, she spoke softly. I have asked many Taoists along the way, but only Brother Lu's answer resonated, making me feel a sense of harmony. Dao brother, why did you smile earlier? Was there something wrong with my question? Wang Lin looked at Liian May, and after a long pause, he said flatly, Is there such a thing as heaven? As soon as those words were spoken, Liian May froze in place. She had asked many people along the way, but never had anyone answered like this. Not only her. Even Lu Yunsong's eyes narrowed as he instinctively looked up at the sky. Nonsense. The heavens are all around us. How can you say there are no heavens? Lu Yunsong scoffed coldly. Liian May's eyes flickered with thought. After a moment, she murmured, And why not? Wang Lin said nothing. He simply raised his right hand and swept it forward. A gentle breeze swirled through the medicine garden, and on the ground around Liian May and Lu Yunsong, a circle appeared, as if someone had traced a ring around them with a tree branch. This circle, Wang Lin said, is the heaven you believe in. If heaven exists in your heart, then it exists around you. You see yourself as an ant trapped within the prison of heaven and earth, struggling to break free. That's your Tao concept. That's your conviction. But even if you step beyond this circle, what then? He shook his head and waved his hand again. Outside the first circle, a second one appeared on the ground. You leave one circle, and yet there is another. Heaven follows you still, caught in a karmic cycle with no end, until the heaven in your heart grinds you into dust within this vast world. That is the lie of heaven. I began pondering this truth centuries ago. So tell me, why must there be a heaven? With those words, Wang Lin sat quietly, saying nothing more. Lu Yunsong's body trembled violently. It was as if someone had struck his crown of the head with a heavy blow. His ears rang with the roar of thunder, and he staggered back several steps, stepping out of the first circle, but still within the second. He stared blankly at the rings on the ground, Wang Lin's voice echoing endlessly in his mind. The lie of heaven. His face turned pale, his thoughts in chaos. The Tao concept he had clung to his entire life began to fracture. He wanted to refute the white-robed man's words, but he couldn't. In his eyes, the two circles around him seemed to expand infinitely, becoming the heavens themselves, becoming a cage. He had thrown everything he had into escaping the first prison, only to realize, in dismay, that he was still trapped in another. The bizarre feeling drained all color from his face. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. A bitter smile, laced with self-mockery, appeared. Liian May silently closed her eyes. Her heart stirred. Wang Lin's words became like runes, flying through her mind and etching themselves deeply into her soul. She had believed her confusion about the Tao to be like a dark cloud, one she tried to clear by asking others, yet none could provide clarity. Only Lu Yunsong's words had once struck her like lightning, briefly clearing a patch of that cloud. But now she understood. Lu Yunsong's so-called insight into the Tao was laughable at best. He had fallen hopelessly into the lie of heaven, unable to extricate himself. At this moment, Wang Lin's voice was like crashing waves, transforming into two massive invisible hands. With a deafening boom, they swept away all the fog and doubt in her heart, leaving nothing but clear skies. Her eyelashes fluttered. Liian May opened her eyes and gazed at Wang Lin for a long time, admiration shining in her eyes. May I know your name, Brother Taoist? She asked softly, bowing slightly. Lu Zihao, Wang Lin replied evenly, his voice utterly calm. Brother Lu's Tao insight has opened my eyes. I have a second question. May I ask you for guidance again? Her eyes sparkled like crystals, bright and expectant. For the first question, I want the highest grade pill in your possession, Wang Lin replied, looking at her. Liian May blinked, then covered her mouth and let out a gentle laugh. The smile of a young woman like her was strikingly beautiful, yet in this moment, Lu Yunsong, wrapped in despair, did not see it. Wang Lin saw it, but remained utterly unmoved. Brother Lu, you may be disappointed. Most of my pills are incomplete and need refinement back at the sect. The highest grade finished one I have is a tier 10 pill. It's not a soul-severing pill, though, just a supreme healing pill. But since you asked for it, I'll give it to you." As she spoke, she reached into the void with her right hand. A storage rift opened, and from it flew a wax-sealed pill, which she handed to Wang Lin. He frowned slightly, took the pill, examined it briefly, then put it away. "My second question," Liian May said, "what is heaven?" Her eyes shone even brighter now, and her heart beat wildly with anticipation as she waited for Wang Lin's reply. She had never felt this way before, not even when Lu Yunsong answered earlier. Back then, she had hoped for insight, but not with such deep yearning as now. Hearing her second question, Wang Lin looked up at the azure sky. A hint of melancholy crossed his face as he spoke softly. The first heaven was about the limit of one's Tao concept. The second is about heaven's will. As soon as those words left his mouth, Liian May's eyes grew even brighter. She stared at Wang Lin in a daze. He was the first person she had ever met who could grasp the utterly different meanings hidden within the same question. Lu Yunsong took a deep breath, suppressing the turmoil in his heart. Upon hearing Wang Lin's words, he paused for a moment. He understood now why, despite returning to the second question, which was perfect in every way, he still wasn't qualified to answer the third question. Once, a friend of mine told me that rain is born in the heavens and dies in the earth. The process in between is life itself. But, is this rain truly born in the heavens? The rain comes from the void, unrelated to the heavens. When it falls to the earth, it nourishes all life, yet it has no connection to the earth either. This is the fate of the rain. The rain is formed from water vapor, and the water vapor is born from all living beings. Once the rain appears, it must return to all living beings, thus forming a cycle, a karmic cycle, which is the essence of fate. In the unseen, there are rules of fate that exist. They are formless, yet they surround every living being, quietly altering everything. Wang Lin gazed at the sky, casually waving his right hand. Suddenly, thunder rumbled from the sky, and water vapor began to gather from all directions, forming heavy dark clouds. Moments later, raindrops began to fall, descending onto the earth. Look at the life of the rain. Does it fall in a straight line? I've watched the rain for a long time, as if observing life itself, and yet I've never seen a single drop fall in a straight line without altering its trajectory. They always shift their path due to the wind, the clouds, or their own weight. Can you perceive the rain's reluctance? Do you understand why this happens? Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and looked toward Liian May. Liian May stared at the rain, and after a long pause, she softly spoke. It's the will of heaven, the change of fate. The life of the rain is short, but because of the cycle, it feels long. Our lives as cultivators are long, yet because of fate and the will of heaven, they are short. But, even though the rain's fleeting life is short, it struggles countless times to break free from the control of fate, changing its course again and again, silently resisting the will of heaven and fate. Our lives as cultivators may be long, but how many can, like the rain, fight desperately to escape the control of fate, even to the point of defying the will of heaven and fighting fiercely against destiny? With a flick of his sleeve, the sky rumbled again. The rain was sucked back into the dark clouds, causing them to collapse, and the rain turned into vapor, dissipating into the vastness of the heavens and earth. You've changed the fate of the rain. You are fate itself. When the moth is drawn to its death by the flame, you extinguish the fire, preventing the moth from dying in the flame. You have changed the moth's fate. When destiny decrees a person's death and you save them, you are fate. As the old saying goes, do noblemen and generals not have their own fate? This is the truth. There's also a saying among immortals, when one person ascends, even the chicken and dog rise to heaven. This is the same principle. This is my answer to your second question. Wang Lin's voice was firm, and as his words fell, the surroundings fell silent. Lu Yunsong stared at Wang Lin, his mind echoing like the toll of a bell. His eyes revealed a mix of emotions, and he had no choice but to respect the plain man in white before him. Each of Wang Lin's words struck deep within Lu Yunsong's heart. After a moment of silence, Lu Yunsong deeply bowed and clasped his fists, saying nothing, but his actions spoke volumes of his admiration. Liian May gazed at the sky, a confused look in her eyes. After a long time, she sighed lightly and looked at Wang Lin with a newfound expression. Biting her lower lip, she spoke softly, "Brother LV's Tao, I am truly convinced." As she spoke, she casually reached into her storage rift, pulling out a half-finished pill and a jade slip, gently handing them to Wang Lin. This is a half-finished pill containing the soul of a Tier 10 fierce beast. The specific herbs and the refining method are detailed in the jade slip. She hesitated for a moment, looking at Wang Lin, and then whispered, "I have one last question to ask." Wang Lin was the first person who had allowed her to ask a third question. With a complex look in her eyes, she studied him carefully, as if committing his image to memory. No one knew the importance and significance these three questions held for her. "I hope Brother LV can help me understand this third question." Liian May's face flushed slightly for some reason. "The third question, what is heaven?" Liian May asked softly, gazing at Wang Lin. Wang Lin fell silent, closing his eyes. Time passed slowly. Half a stick of incense later, he opened his eyes and looked at Liian May, speaking calmly. "You are not asking about heaven. You are asking about Tao." Liian May remained silent for a moment, then gently nodded. "I've pondered this question myself. Once, I found an answer, but now I realize that answer was not complete. May I ask what the answer you found was, Brother LV? Could you share it with me?" Liian May's gaze was serene, untainted by any impurities, as she looked at Wang Lin. Lu Yunzong stood to the side, sighing inwardly. He felt as if he had become an unnecessary presence. Shaking his head, he simply sat down on the ground, flipped his right hand, and pulled out a jug of wine, raising it skyward and taking a deep swig. "I am the fish, the Tao is the net, and the river is the heavens. The fisherman casting the net is fate itself," Wang Lin murmured after a moment, speaking slowly. Hearing this, Lu Yunzong paused with the wine jug in hand, a thoughtful look in his eyes. After a long silence, a flicker of realization seemed to dawn. He glanced at Wang Lin, reached into the air once more, and retrieved another jug, tossing it toward him. Wang Lin caught it deftly and took a hearty drink. Lu Yunzong sighed deeply and looked at Wang Lin with a complicated expression. Though the man's appearance was ordinary, he exuded a presence that commanded respect. "My son indeed deserved to die. To fall by this man's hand, perhaps that too is a form of fate." Lu Yunzong was no ordinary man himself. After a swig of wine, he finally let go of his inner knot. Liian May furrowed her brows slightly, her jade-like fingers pressing gently between her brows. In a low voice, she said, "Master once said something similar. He said, 'Man is an ant, the Tao is a mountain, and will is the heavens. If the heavens are angered, then the Tao follows the heavens. But if the ant rages, even mountains can be moved.'" As she spoke, she looked down at the ground, laid out a piece of white cloth, and sat cross-legged on it. "The Tao is not a net, nor a mountain. It is a way of thinking. And that thought differs from person to person. Some see it as a net, others as a mountain." Wang Lin's eyes flickered with contemplation at her words, a bright light gradually appearing in his gaze. "The Tao is thought. What makes a person truly human is the ability to think, to transcend the physical and merge with the heavens and earth, to ponder the unknown." Lu Yunzong's eyes also shone with realization, as if speaking to himself. Brother Lu's interpretation is quite unique, Liian May mused with a soft smile. The three of them seemed to forget the passing of time, sitting and talking on the ground in the courtyard. The murderous tension from earlier had dissipated with the discussion of the Tao. Day gave way to night, and a bright moon hung in the sky, casting silvery light over the courtyard and their silhouettes. While they lost track of time, the elder atop the fierce tiger spirit beast outside the Moro continent grew increasingly restless. At first, he wasn't anxious, but as the day dragged on, his brows began to furrow. He couldn't understand why. With the sect master's cultivation and Liian May by his side, they hadn't returned after so long. After waiting several more hours, his expression turned increasingly worried. A vague sense of dread grew in his heart. Gritting his teeth, he finally stopped hesitating. Controlling the fierce tiger spirit beast, he led over 30 Violet Tao sect core disciples directly toward the Moro continent. But just as they approached, before they could even break through the barrier, a commanding voice boomed through the air. Fall back. Without my command, no one is to take a single step into the Moro continent. The voice belonged to Liian May. The elder's body froze, and he quickly cupped his fists respectfully in acknowledgement. He commanded the beast to retreat swiftly, though confusion still lingered in his heart. Inside the medicine garden, the light of dawn spread. Wang Lin cast a glance at Liian May, who remained silent, sitting to the side, drinking without a word. He had already seen that this man in white, he was no match for him. Even if the entire Violet Dao sect came, it would make no difference. As for the third question, all I can say for now is, Dao is thought, Wang Lin said gently, looking at Liian May. A beautiful smile appeared on Liian May's face as she looked at Wang Lin and softly said, "Thank you, Brother Lu, for clearing my doubts. If you ever attain the Dao one day, I hope you'll let me know. After that, I won't ask anyone else." Wang Lin was slightly taken aback. He looked at Liian May, pondered for a moment, then nodded. Liian May sighed, stood up, and cupped his fists toward Wang Lin. In a deep voice, he said, "Brother Lu, for tonight's discussion of the Dao, let the grudges of the past be laid to rest. But the Nether Immortal banner, you must return it to me." Wang Lin's gaze remained calm as he shook his head. "You." Liian May drew a long breath and gave a bitter smile. "Brother Lu, that banner does not belong to the Violet Dao sect. It was entrusted to us by the main sect and must be returned in 100 years. If you refuse to hand it over, I won't force you. But when the main sect comes to claim it, don't blame me for telling the truth." Liian May sighed as he spoke. "That banner is from the main sect." Wang Lin's expression didn't change, but his heart stirred. "Exactly. So be it. Since you insist on keeping it, I'll take my leave." Liian May cupped his fists again, glanced at Liian May, and noticing she had no intention of leaving with him, his heart grew bitter. He saluted her and turned to leave. After Liian May left, Liian May looked at Wang Lin and smiled gently. She raised the emerald flute in her hands to her lips and began to play. The soft melody flowed gently, elegant and graceful, wrapping around the heart like a breeze, pulling one effortlessly into its depths. The melody of the flute contained a serene charm, like the simple life of a village or the flowing water in a mountain stream, clear and sweet, washing away the filth in the heart's sea. It was more like a seven-colored rainbow bridge, tightly connecting the hearts of people, making any barriers between them vanish into thin air. Feeling the tranquility and elegance within the flute's tune, Wang Lin closed his eyes, as if he could see the woman playing the zither on Vermilion Bird Star, or the blind girl playing the zither in the land of demonic spirits. The flute's melody intertwined with the sound of the zither in his heart, to the point where it was hard to distinguish between the two. Far in the distance, Liian May left, walking away with the flute's music. The bitterness in his heart grew stronger as he looked back at the Guiyuan sect. He sighed deeply, then walked away without a second glance. It was unclear how much time passed, but the flute's music gradually faded. Liian May stood up, glanced at Wang Lin, and turned to walk toward the medicine garden's entrance. Just as she was about to step out, she paused, looked back, and smiled. It was in that fleeting smile, filled with 100 charms, that Wang Lin opened his eyes. "Brother LV, there will be a marketplace and auction in the Punglai continent in a few days, something that happens once every 30 years. Are you interested in going?" The Jade Treasure Sect, the top sect in the 5-tier star domain, was home to many cultivators and numerous powerful, ancient experts. Therefore, the continent it was located on was called Punglai, also known as the Punglai Wonderland. The scope of the Punglai continent was far greater than that of Moro. It was dozens of times larger. From a distance, it seemed more like a cultivation star than a continent. Within the Cloud Sea star domain, cultivation stars were extremely rare, only possessed by a few of the most powerful sections. Even the Jade Treasure Sect was not qualified to claim an entire cultivation star. They could only claim half of one. This half-cultivation star was granted to them by the 9-tier Ghost Sect 2,000 years ago, after the ancestors of Punglai made a great contribution. To this day, no higher-tier cultivators dared covet the cultivation star, tacitly accepting the fact that the Jade Treasure Sect held it. Looking through the star mist, Punglai appeared like a crescent moon, its outer layers protected by a soft glow that dispersed the surrounding star mist, making the area outside the Punglai continent clear and bright. Apart from the Jade Treasure Sect, Punglai was also well known for its marketplace and auction, which occurred once every 30 years. Whenever the Punglai marketplace opened, cultivators from all around gathered, and even higher-tier cultivators from other star domains would come, making it extremely lively. The marketplace, which would last for 3 months, offered a wide range of treasures, including magical artifacts, medicinal pills, alchemy prescriptions, and spirit beasts. It also provided resources for trading immortal jade and primordial crystals, and even selling cauldrons and physical bodies. The most exciting events, however, were the beast duels, where cultivators would pit their own spirit beasts against each other for betting. But the most notable attractions were the chaotic Punglai Lawless Duel and the Precious Items Auction. The so-called Punglai Lawless Duel was an event where the Jade Treasure Sect provided an environment for cultivators to freely wager life and death battles. The victors would take the treasures of the defeated. As the Punglai marketplace was about to begin, long rainbows streaked across the starry sky toward Punglai. Because of the previous matters regarding the alchemy prescription and the jade slips, many 6-tier cultivators, as well as some from the 7 and 8-tier star domains, were coming to the marketplace. In the starry sky, 2 long rainbows were racing toward Punglai. One was a man in white, his expression calm and cold, as though he would remain unfazed even if mountains collapsed before him. He was Wang Lin. The woman beside him was stunningly beautiful, also dressed in white like snow, her blue hair fluttering without wind. Her delicate, charming face could make anyone's heart race, and the elegant aura surrounding her made her appear as if she were an immortal from another world. Looking into her eyes would make anyone feel inferior. In just a few days' journey, we will reach the Punglai continent. I came here with my fellow disciples 500 years ago. It was very lively, and the memories are vivid, the woman said, her beautiful eyes filled with nostalgia as she smiled gently. Wang Lin said nothing, his expression calm. He hadn't originally planned to accompany Liian May to the marketplace, and he wasn't particularly interested in it. However, after hearing her words, he had been deep in thought for a moment, and then his heart stirred. The Cloud Sea star domain was filled with star mist, and without an accurate star map, travel was nearly impossible. The higher the tier of the star domain, the more difficult it became. To travel from a 5-tier to an 8-tier star domain required even more star maps. Star maps of this comprehensive nature were extremely rare in the Cloud Sea star domain. Most were individually created, requiring a lot of data collection and verification before finally providing a complete map. The reason Wang Lin agreed to come to this marketplace was precisely to acquire a star map. However, star maps were incredibly valuable in the Cloud Sea star domain, and few people were willing to trade them. This was understandable, as in the mist-filled Cloud Sea, no sect dared claim to have the complete star maps of its domain. Even in the vast star domain, there were many places that cultivators had never visited. At this moment, the star map became extremely important. A wild, unknown continent, with its fierce beasts, medicinal herbs, and vast resources, could only be accessed by a few people who knew of its existence, or by a sect. Without the star map, progress would be nearly impossible. Even a sect's development would be greatly impacted, as they could only search for resources on other wild continents that were widely known. Therefore, nearly every sect would put in great effort to establish their own star map. However, the star mist was directionless and teeming with fierce beasts. As a result, the cost of mapping out a new area of the star map was immense. This naturally made star map exchanges a preferred choice. But human greed led to deception, even in exchanges, sometimes guiding people into dangerous areas. As a result, the trade of star maps gradually decreased. Most sects would rather create their own star maps, securing a safe one, than exchange for a fake one and pay the bloody price. As for Liian May, she directly arrived at the branch sects in each tier of the star domain, using her sect's unique teleportation array. Through repeated teleportations, she eventually arrived at the 5th-tier star domain. This was actually a common method employed by sects in the 8-tier star domains of the Cloud Sea. Like spreading seeds, they would either support or rebuild branches in lower-tier star domains, letting them develop freely. The main purpose of this was to establish fixed teleportation points, allowing people from the main sect to teleport in. This method cleverly avoided the issue of lacking star maps. The Guiyuan sect also had such a teleportation array. However, every time this array was activated, it spanned across different star domains, requiring an enormous amount of immortal jade or primordial crystals. Thus, unless authorized by the main sect, it would be nearly impossible to use or open. Throughout the journey, Wang was lost in thought. Therefore, he barely responded to Liian May's words, offering only brief replies, without engaging in any conversation. Liian May grew frustrated. Throughout the journey, this man seemed like a mute, barely saying a word. She was almost talking to herself most of the time. As they flew, silence fell between them. The 9th-tier star domain is quite mysterious to us cultivators. Wang glanced at Liian May, thought for a moment, and slowly said, "How many sects are there in the 9th-tier star domain?" His question was not flawed. In the Cloud Sea star domain, perhaps due to the star mist, the interactions between cultivators were limited, and their range of contact was small. The 9th-tier star domain was the highest and most mysterious, an existence beyond reach. The Guiyuan sect's records only briefly mentioned the 9th-tier star domain, noting that it housed a divine sect. Even Wang only learned about the Skybreaker sect after gaining the memories of the Jade Slip and the Poison Crone. After all, the knowledge available to a 5th-tier star domain sect was far less than that of a 6th tier. Liian May, seeing Wang speak, thought for a moment before answering his question. There are 4 sects in the 9th-tier star domain: the Divine Sect, the Ghost Sect, the Demon Sect, and the Skybreaker Sect. Among them, the Skybreaker Sect, where I am from, is the weakest, while the Divine Sect is the strongest. The Ghost Sect is the most mysterious. As for the Demon Sect, Liian May hesitated before speaking softly. The Demon Sect resides in the deepest part of the 9th-tier star domain, a place that is nearly impossible for cultivators to enter. It is filled with powerful, fierce beasts. The Demon Sect rarely concerns itself with worldly affairs, and very few of its people venture outside. I heard from my master that in the Demon Sect, there might even be terrifying supreme beasts that can transform into human form. But with the Divine Sect around, the Demon Sect can't stir up much trouble. Oh, Wang expression changed slightly. Beasts that can transform into human form. Liian May nodded and softly replied. Fierce beasts can comprehend the rules of heaven and earth, and even validate the heavenly Tao. If they can do that, why can't they cultivate into human form? However, such beasts are extremely rare, like a phoenix feather or a unicorn's horn. There are things you don't know, things that most cultivators don't know. Even my Skybreaker sect only learned about these secrets after becoming part of the 9th-tier star domain. Liian May's expression grew serious. After a moment of silence, she spoke again. Long ago, the Cloud Sea's 9th-tier star domain only had one sect, the Divine Sect. After the Divine Sect reigned over the Cloud Sea for countless years, the first beast uprising erupted within the 9th-tier star domain. During that uprising, there were 3 fierce beasts that had already cultivated into human form. It is said that they came from another star domain. Without the Divine Sect, the beast uprising would have spread across the entire Cloud Sea star domain, only to be stopped by the Divine Sect, which prevented it from expanding further. This event is rarely known to outsiders. It's said that the battle was incredibly devastating. After the Divine Sect's disciples suppressed the beasts, some were stationed deep within the 9-star star domain, where a fractured space connects to a mysterious starfield. Some of the most powerful beasts came from there. To prevent these beasts from causing chaos, a continuous battle lasted for tens of thousands of years, and even now, clashes still happen frequently. The disciples of the Divine Sect in that region gave up their freedom and remained in the depths of the 9-star star domain for the final defense. Over time, however, these former disciples began to act independently, calling themselves the Demon Sect. They no longer obeyed the Divine Sect's orders, but they still guarded that place, stopping waves of beast invasions. Liian May's voice was sweet, but the content of her words was chilling. Wang's expression grew serious. He never expected such a shocking event to be hidden within the Cloud Sea star domain. The Divine Sect, ever vigilant, worried about the Demon Sect and the continuously invading beasts from the mysterious starfield, which is why they promoted the Ghost Sect, skilled in soul-binding techniques, to a 9-star sect, and also elevated my Skybreaker sect to the same rank. All of this was in preparation for the second beast uprising, which could erupt at any time. After speaking softly, Liian May looked at Wang Lin and calmly added, "This is of great importance, so I hope Brother LV will not tell anyone." Wang Lin remained silent for a moment before nodding. His gaze drifted far off, as if he could vaguely see through the void, to the 9-star star domain, to the shattered space where the demon sect had been holding back beasts for tens of thousands of years. He saw into a mysterious, unfathomable starfield. Things in this world are ever-changing, but there must be reasons. Wang Lin mused. If what Liian May said is true, then where could this mysterious starfield be? He fell silent. If that day comes, Brother LV, you must bid farewell to me. Liian May winked and smiled, her expression as beautiful as an orchid blooming in tranquility, carrying an indescribable elegance. That breathtaking, delicate face reminded Wang Lin of when he left Moro continent not long ago, and LV Yanfei, standing in the southern mountain pavilion, silently watching him depart, with soft murmurs in the air. After 100 years, the sects within the main sect will compete. I hope the senior does not forget, nor forget Guiyuan's sect. With LV Yanfei's intelligence, this woman, who rarely spoke, had already sensed that Moro continent could never be where Wang Lin would settle permanently. This place was but a drifting leaf to him. He was, after all, just a passing traveler. Once the matters of Guiyuan's sect were resolved, he would leave. And now, his departure coincided with the disbanding of the Violet Dao sect's disaster. After he left, perhaps they would never meet again. Especially the blue-haired woman who stood beside Wang Lin as he left. LV Yanfei noticed her too, gradually lowering her head. This scene, Wang Lin saw. The voice, Wang Lin heard. But he didn't turn around and couldn't. He walked further away, and just before he left Moro continent, his words, like the wind, brushed past LV Yanfei, causing her hair to flutter gently. I will. At this moment, Wang Lin looked at Liian May, who, despite having reached the late stage of shattered nirvana, displayed no hint of arrogance, exuding the calmness of a neighborly young woman. Listening to her speak of the hidden scenes within the 9 stars, hearing her talk about the impending battle with the demon sect and the fierce beasts, hearing her say that she wished for him to bid her farewell before she left. Wang Lin stayed silent for a while, nodded, and softly said, I will. Liian May smiled, her eyes curving like crescents. On the second day after the opening of the market in Punglai continent, Wang Lin and Liian May arrived in the starry sky outside Punglai continent. Under her magical techniques, Liian May's hair had turned black. Now, there was no worry of being recognized. The black-haired Liian May looked even more elegant. Standing alongside Wang Lin, they attracted the attention of many cultivators in the starry sky. Outside Punglai continent, the Jade Treasure sect had arranged for many of their disciples to handle the reception. After collecting the entry fees, they opened the protective barriers, allowing people to enter. This was Wang Lin's first time seeing a cultivation star since arriving in the Cloud Sea. Though only half of it was visible, it was extremely rare. Yet, compared to other cultivators who were in awe at the sight of the cultivation star, Wang Lin remained completely calm. In the Cloud Sea, most cultivators would never see a cultivation star in their lifetime, only floating continents. When they saw a cultivation star for the first time, the shock from the heart would usually be apparent. But for Wang Lin, a cultivation star was nothing extraordinary. He had been born on a cultivation star, had been taught on one, and even had his own cultivation star in Luotian. Not to mention the vast star field within the Vermilion Bird Sacred Sect. The disciples of the Jade Treasure Sect likely carried an air of arrogance, possibly due to their possession of the cultivation star. However, to Wang Lin, their pride seemed utterly insignificant. As one disciple after another paid their spirit stones and entered Punglai, it was soon Wang Lin and Liian May's turn. In front of them stood a group of Jade Treasure Sect disciples, most of whom were at the Yin Deficiency and Yang Fulfillment stage. Leading the group was a cultivator at the Glimpse of Nirvana stage. The Jade Treasure Sect is clearly very conscious of its reputation, using a glimpse of Nirvana Cultivator as a symbol of their sect's strength. Wang Lin thought to himself, shaking his head. It was obvious to anyone with a discerning eye that the Jade Treasure Sect's actions were little more than a show. After paying their spirit stones, Wang Lin and Liian May entered the Punglai continent. "This time is much better," Liian May whispered, covering her mouth with a light laugh. "I remember when I came to Punglai with my fellow disciples years ago, we were greeted by a pure Nirvana Cultivator as our guide. I thought we'd arrived at one of the 9-tier sections. I forgot that this is only a 5-tier star domain." Wang Lin shook his head without speaking. Despite the disreputable behavior of the Jade Treasure Sect, the Punglai continent itself was a place of stunning beauty. The land was lush and green, with bustling cities filled with mortals who gazed up at the cultivators soaring through the sky, their faces filled with awe. The mountains and rivers were magnificent, providing a feast for the eyes. The location for the market district was in the eastern part of the continent, an area that was truly spectacular. Towering conical stones floated in midair, with cities built upon them. The sky was dotted with wispy clouds that surrounded the floating stones, giving the eastern part of Punglai the appearance of a fairyland. These floating stones, varying in size, circled around a massive central stone, slowly rotating as they moved through the air. The air was filled with music that sounded like the melodies of celestial beings, emanating from the stone cities and drifting through the surroundings. As if that wasn't enough, graceful spirit beasts flew between the stones, occasionally piercing through the clouds or emerging from the distance. Wang Lin looked on with his usual expression, though inwardly, he was struck by the sight. Each floating stone was surrounded by a vast floating formation. Maintaining these formations required a constant, enormous expenditure of spirit stones. "The Jade Treasure Sect's extravagance is well known," Liian May remarked with a smile. "It's all for show, though. While the formations might give the illusion of an immortal realm, they lack true celestial energy. It looks like paradise, but in reality, it's just an affectation of elegance. Even the Jade Treasure Sect can't afford to waste that many immortal jades, let alone primordial crystals." At the mention of immortal jade, Wang Lin's expression shifted slightly. He had already learned at the Guiyuan sect that immortal jade was extremely scarce in the Cloud Sea star domain. This scarcity was largely due to the Wind Immortal realm being overrun by mosquito beasts. Since access was restricted, it was impossible to gather any immortal jade. Consequently, even the Jade Treasure Sect could only afford to lavishly spend spirit stones, while they were notably stingy with immortal jade. Even the vice sect leader of the Violet Dao sect had fewer than 100 pieces of immortal jade in their storage ring, a clear indication of just how rare it was. Likewise, in the Cloud Sea star domain, there was another type of crystal, even rarer than immortal jade, known as the primordial crystal. Just like immortal jade was needed to cultivate to the yin deficiency and yang fulfillment stage, or to set up immortal formations or divine arts, the primordial crystal held even greater significance for cultivators of the second stage in Cloud Sea. The primordial crystal was unique to the Cloud Sea immortal domain and highly prized by second-step cultivators. Absorbing it could rapidly replenish their primordial energy, and during cultivation, its presence could even accelerate their breathing and absorption. When refining magic weapons or setting up formations, having a primordial crystal would greatly amplify the power. However, like immortal jade, primordial crystals were exceedingly rare. The key difference was that while immortal jade could be found in the Wind Immortal realm, it was impossible to mine. In contrast, primordial crystals were only available in 8-tier or higher sects, and most were controlled by the 9-tier sections. This scarcity was linked to the formation of primordial crystals. They weren't mined, but instead formed inside primordial beasts of the 12th tier that had mastered the fog manifestation divine art. These beasts were nurtured in the mist for years, allowing the crystals to form within their bodies. Only sects or cultivators possessing a 12th tier primordial beast could produce primordial crystals. But 12th tier beasts were already rare, and those capable of transforming into fog were even more so. That's why only 8-tier or higher sects had the strength to possess them. If a primordial beast were to appear in a lower-tier star domain, it would immediately be fought over, as it was synonymous with a primordial crystal. Alongside Liian May, Wang Lin entered one of the conical stones. Inside was the market district, which had already opened. There were plenty of cultivators within the stone city, and some individuals had even set up their own stalls after paying their spirit stones to the Jade Treasure Sect, selling various goods. This is the outskirts, but it's still quite lively, Liian May said, glancing around as she walked beside Wang Lin. The place bustled with noise, voices haggling, echoing in all directions. It felt less like a gathering of cultivators and more like an ordinary mortal market. It had been a long time since Wang Lin had wandered through a market district like this. After strolling around for a while, his gaze landed on a nearby stall. Fellow Taoist, I don't have that much immortal jade. How about I throw in a pill as well? A middle-aged man stood before the stall, speaking to an elder who sat cross-legged behind it. The old man's face was gloomy as he stared at the man. That pill? I can refine myself. It's useless to me. 70 immortal jades for 1 primordial crystal. That's my final offer. The old man flicked his eyelids and responded coldly, then ignored the man entirely. In the Cloud Sea Star domain, immortal jade and primordial crystals could be exchanged voluntarily between cultivators at agreed rates. Hearing the negotiation nearby, Wang Lin instinctively reached for the spot where he used to keep his storage pouch. Though his hand found nothing, his expression turned strange. Even he couldn't remember how many immortal jades were still in that storage rift. Just then, an excited voice rang out not far away. Liian May, it really is you. 3 cultivators approached. The one in front looked to be about 30, dressed in a green robe. He was tall and handsome, his eyes lit with surprise and joy as he strode forward. The 2 behind him were equally striking in appearance, and their cultivation aura suggested they were anything but weak. Liian May's brows furrowed slightly, then relaxed. She spoke softly, so it's Brother Yang. The man in green drew closer, completely ignoring Wang Lin. With a smile, he said, It's been months since we parted, and I've thought of you ever since. Heaven must be guiding us to meet here again. It's quite chaotic in this place. Why don't we talk in the inner city? His voice was gentle, almost charming. Your kindness is noted, Brother Yang. But please, go your own way. Liian May replied, her tone calm, but unmistakably cold. Liian May you. The man was stunned. He took a few steps forward, clearly intending to say more. Show some respect, Brother Yang. The name Liian May is not yours to use so casually. Liian May frowned again, her face showing clear irritation. This Yang Yu had asked her questions during their journey, but his answers hadn't satisfied her at all. Yang Yu's sword-like brows twitched. He finally noticed Wang Lin standing beside Liian May. His gaze turned cold. He wouldn't dare provoke Liian May, but this other man? He didn't see him as a threat. And who are you supposed to be? Yang Yu demanded, his tone icy as he stared at Wang Lin.